if you don't get it, then get the out of Philly.
Castellanos, high fly ball, way back.
In from this side, who else? That baby Chubb.
Here's McConnell, can he get it off? Yes! Fumbles the football and the Eagles have it.
Jared McKinney making it rain.
Wayne Simmons wins it for Philadelphia.
Long drive. This game is over.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Philly Talk. Let's just get straight into it. There's so much to talk about. Let's start off with the Phillies. They are second place in the East, and they are 3.5 games back from first place. And as it currently stands on May 1st, they're 17-13. They have won the last 4 in a row. But they currently stand at 17-13 with a 24.1% chance to make the postseason and a 1.1% chance to win the World Series. Far away from what was expected of them heading into this season. They have not looked great aside from a couple of players, looking at it right now, there's a couple players who are doing really well, Kyle Schwarber batting average has dropped a bit since the last time we talked, but he's still going off as you would expect from him. 9 home runs, 23 RBIs, 2 doubles so far, 26 hits. Doing really well, really good slugging, really good on base. I forget, they showed the graphic of how much he's been on base from going back all the way till last year, I think. I mean, he has a 398 on base percentage, 538 slugging, 936 OPS, one of the best players we have on this roster. And right behind him is Stott with a 297 batting average, almost up there to the 300 range, 374 on base, 436 slugging, 810 OPS, 125 OPS plus, Schwarber 158 OPS plus. Probably our 2 best players right now, easily. Stott with 15 RBIs on the season, only 2 home runs, so not a lot of power, but you don't really expect a lot of power out of the second base position. 30 hits on a day though, 30 hits, 4 doubles. He's been doing really well. 7 stolen bases, hasn't been caught yet. 12 walks, has only struck out 22 times in 115 plate appearances. Really good stuff from Stott, really good stuff. This is what we wanted from him after kind of the down year last year, and he's been doing really well. And I think that's the thing that's kind of like confusing with this team. A lot of them, their OPS pluses aren't the best. Their OPSs alone aren't the best. And a lot of them you look and their batting average isn't the best, but yet they're making up for it in other places. Like, for example, Harper right now is only batting 238, only has 5 home runs on the year right now, 16 RBIs, has stolen 6 bases, which is actually kind of surprising me a bit, 24 walks to 25 strikeouts, so pretty even there. He's walking almost as much as he's striking out. He has 6 doubles. He's doing pretty well, just hasn't really, like, the hit department doesn't look as well. But then you look, 370 on base. That's pretty good, like, he's getting walked a lot more. He's not really getting a lot of those opportunities to really hit. And then, of course, sometimes when he does get the chance to hit, he doesn't do as well. Trey Turner is kind of confusing one. 282 batting average, 363 on base. But he hasn't been playing the best. Only 1 home run, 11 RBIs, 5 doubles. I mean, he's been doing well. Him and Stott have been doing really well as the 1-2 leadoffs. But most of Trey Turner's struggles and a lot of the criticism he's been getting this season has to do with the defense. I mean, we just saw it in that Nationals game when he way off, almost airmailed a throw to first, So defensively hasn't been looking the best. It's why his WAR is only at a 0.2. Like, He just hasn't had the best season at short right now. Bohm 221 batting average, 252 on base, has not been playing really well. 526 OPS. That is, other than Marsh, who has kind of been injured, that's the worst OPS on the team. Oh, and Marshawn as well, but like, I don't know, Marshawn and Marsh haven't gotten as much playing time compared to Bohm. Like, Bohm's at 28 games, almost 10 more than Marsh, 20 more than Marshawn. Marshawn's only played 6 games, so it's not really a big sample size. 28 games, 526 OPS, 47 OPS plus, has not been playing well. 21 strikeouts to only 3 walks. No home runs on the season, 8 RBIs. Not been looking the best there. Kepler, he's been doing pretty well, especially the last couple of games. Rojas, 304 batting average, 339 on base. Pretty good stuff out of him. He just had his first home run the other day, has 9 RBIs, has been filling in well in that center field spot, but still kind of has a couple of misplays like we saw with that Kirkry one, where it was just like, I don't know what kind of path he was taking to that ball. It was very weird. Castellanos hasn't really been great. JT hasn't really been great. It's just kind of confusing stuff, like I don't really know what can be done to fix a lot of this team. Like, there's not really much to be said that wouldn't just sound like repeating ourselves from the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of watching the Phillies. Well, I mean, thinking back to 2021, I don't know if a lot of the same issues we had there are the same now, but man, it's just so weird. I mean, they're doing really great now, but it's like they've won 4 games in a row after losing 3 in a row. No, 4 in a row. They lost 4 in a row. No, 5 in a row. My goodness, I was looking at this wrong. Yeah, they lost the final game to Miami. Then they got swept by the Mets, one of them being a walk-off. Then they lost to Chicago, and then they've won the next 4. The Chicago series was really good, real fun. Luzardo been looking amazing. But yeah, it's like, I don't know what to say about this team, looking at pitching wise, Wheeler hasn't looked the greatest with 3.48 ERA. He's let up 7 home runs, 17 earned runs. 7 home runs, 17 earned runs. But he's been striking out a lot of guys. He's been doing really well. It's just a lot of times his defense kind of doesn't help him out. And then other times it's just like one mistake pitch that comes to cost him. Jesus Luzardo, 1.73 ERA on this season. This man has been amazing. Has only allowed 1 home run this season. 7 earned runs. 41 strikeouts. The man has been electric. Sanchez, same thing as like Wheeler. Like, he's looked great. Just there's a couple of things that are kind of faulty in the sense of like, man, sometimes it's a mistake pitch. Sometimes he can't seem to get himself out of a tough jam. Taijuan Walker, last game was against Chicago, let up 2 earned runs, only went 3 innings, and had like 86 pitches in those 3 innings, so not the best. Miami game, I believe, was the one he left early, 4 innings, only 1 earned run allowed. It's weird, he had those 2 really strong starts, and then he's kind of struggled, come back to earth in a way. So can't expect too much. And then Nola, my goodness, Nola has just I as Nola's biggest supporter, even I can't defend a lot of what has happened this season. I mean, sometimes you can't really fully blame him at times. Like, I think back to like that one game where he had like a lot of strikeouts and it was just like 2 mistake pitches that resulted in home runs. really hurt him. Sometimes it's his defense, but then other times it's like you have games like the Giants one where it's like 6 earned runs on the day, Nola. Like, what is going on, you know? But he bounced back, finally got his first win in the Chicago series. 7 innings, only 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts on the day, 99 pitches. But my goodness, has he been struggling this season. 5.4 ERA. Not what you want to see, you know? Not what you want to see from a guy, especially who's on such a big contract. But, I don't know. It's still early in the season, you know? Like, that's why it's kind of tough to say a lot. Also, by the way, shout out Jose Alvarado, 1.84 ERA out the bullpen. One of our most electric relievers. Has done a really great job. Loaded up the bases yesterday only to strike out 3 people in a row. Like, he's one of the funniest pitchers, I swear. I love joking around with my dad whenever Jose comes into pitch and he gets into those jams. I'm like, he's just pitching a lot to make sure he doesn't have to pitch tomorrow. But he's been literally the only consistent out of that bullpen, because even Strom, he's kind of struggled a bit. I mean, 3 ERA is good, but like you look at some of his performances where it's like the past 2 times he's come into relief appearances, Chicago and Washington, he's only pitched 0.1 of an inning. Despite in the Chicago series, he faced 5 batters. He faced 2 batters in the Nationals one, and it's like, it's not really what you want to see, but like, oh well, you know. I mean, he's still been doing pretty well, just a couple bad appearances so far. Banks has been all right out the bullpen. He's done all right for the most part, but nothing too crazy, you know. Kirkring has really struggled. And speaking of struggle, Romano has definitely started to struggle. I mean, everyone in this bullpen is struggling. Like, Romano, 12.19 ERA. Hernandez, 6.55. Joe Ross, 5.02. Jose Ruiz, 4.76. Orion Kirkring, 5.56. And then, you know, it got better with Strom, Banks, and Alvarado. But still, it's like Alvarado's really like the only one that isn't struggling, you know. But, I mean, the good thing with Strom is you could look at his FIP, his fielding, independent pitching, and like 1.41, meaning that like some of that stuff is coming down to the defense, so it's not entirely his fault. But I don't know, you know, it's like a lot of the other guys still looking like bad. But, you know, recently they were asking John Kruk about it, you know, and he's like, we're only like 30 games into the season or something like that. Like, what more, or like what, like why do we have to be overreacting immediately? Like, that's the one thing with baseball is like, it's a 162 game season. Now, if this struggling continues through May, then of course you're gonna look at it and be like, okay, yeah, now it's time to hit the panic button. But at the same time, I don't know, like I was talking to my dad, I'm like, it's kind of hard for me to panic about baseball when this team in 2022, you know, Rob Thompson took over and got them to the playoffs when they had such a, you know, minuscule chance of making it, you know, and then they went all the way to losing the World Series. You know, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of difficult to sit here and overreact about a 162 game season, you know, but at the same time, every game matters, especially when it's like, because of the fact that they've struggled, they're now 3.5 games behind the Mets when they really shouldn't be. They should have at least won one game against New York, but they didn't. I don't know. They're a frustrating team to watch right now. They go on these good stretches like we've been these past 4 games, and they go and lose 5 in a row, you know, but it's like, I don't know, that's just baseball sometimes. But the way a lot of these players are looking, you do kind of want to worry, because like I get John Kruk's mentality of, you don't, like, what are we doing, you guys, you know, it's this early in the season, but it's like, I'm the type of guy that's looking at that trade deadline is like, what are we going to do to fix this team with as many holes as it has, you know, because someone's like, oh, well, they need a trade for a bullpen piece. They don't need one singular bullpen piece. They need so many bullpen pieces, you know. At least you could potentially trust Strom to lock back in, and you can trust Jose now. Maybe even Banks. Like, Banks is still sort of like, I don't want to dog him too much. 3.38 ERA isn't the worst, especially compared to what we have in the rest of his bullpen. But it's like, I don't like, you need a lot of pieces, you know. You need something to replace Romano, Hernandez, Ruiz, you know, like even potentially Ross, but like Ross has only been used for like a lot of like a long reliever type of thing, you know. Like, I mean, in the Mets game, he literally pitched 3 innings, 1.2 in the Chicago game. So it's like he kind of gets used a lot like that. And, you know, to be fair to him, he hasn't allowed an earned run in his past 3 appearances. Like, a lot of his ERA is inflated from certain performances, like the Giants one where he let up 4 earned runs, you know. But so like he's still serviceable, especially as like a long reliever type thing. But it's like, yeah, you need quite a lot of pieces in this bullpen to make it better. You know, it's not just trading for one singular person. And I think they traded for like a reliever, but like today, like I got the notification in the morning, but it's like a guy who's like in the minor leagues. Like, I don't know if they're even planning on bringing him up. And then like with the rest of the team, you're not really going to be trading for starting pitching, you know, when you have the 5 guys that you do, especially because you're expecting Ranger to come back healthy. And Taiwan's going to, you know, he's already been coming back down to earth. You're probably going to have to use him out the bullpen like Joe Ross more than likely. But yeah, you're not going to go trading for a starting pitcher because it's like you already have your 5 guys. Even with Nola doing as bad, it's like the worst thing that can happen to Nola is he gets relegated all the way to that 5 spot because the other 4 guys are outperforming him. You know, like right now, you already know Wheeler, Ace, Luzardo. Isn't it kind of crazy we were confused by Luzardo being the second day pitcher at the start of the season, and now it makes complete sense with his ERA, you know? And then you're probably going Sanchez. Although, do you want 2 lefties back to back? No, you could probably go Sanchez, and maybe Nola's the 4th guy, because then Ranger can be the 5th, so that way you don't have 3 lefties in a row. I don't know, but, you know, basically saying they're not going to do anything for starting pitcher, but then it's like the offense. Well, what do? You know, like, what do you do with this offense come trade deadline point? Like, are you trading JT because you know his contract's up? If so, what type of package are you even getting back for him? And can we rely on Marchand to be that, you know, everyday catcher? You know, like, do you think with more playing time he can break out of, you know, the stats he's put up so far in 6 games that he's played this year? Or do you try and look at just, you know, who's a veteran catcher that's going to be available at the trade deadline that can just be a bridge piece until free agency, when you either sign another catcher, which, you know, I don't even know what catchers would be on the market, or you trade for an actual like catcher to replace JT. Like, what's it going to be? Then you start looking at other positions. Do you trade for someone to replace Alec Bohm at 3rd? Do you just go with Sosa at 3rd? What do you do there? You know, who's going to be trading for Alec Bohm when, you know, his value is just dipping more and more? The outfield is crowded, so it's like, if you add someone, who are you going to replace? You know, a lot of confusion with this team. Like, that's my biggest thing. It's just like, what is going to be done to improve this team, and how is it going to make sense? You know, like, the only way I see a lot improving offensively is if like certain people get traded. You know, like, you can't add an outfield piece without trading someone there. You can't improve the infield without trading someone there. And I don't know, it's just this team, like, the future is really confusing for the Phillies. That's like really all I can say. Like, very confusing. And then real quickly, in regards to the Flyers, they interviewed a coach from, I believe it's, oh my gosh, which college was it? Western Michigan, which I saw a lot of Flyers fans talking about it and actually having interest in it, saying that, you know, it kind of seems a bit interesting to go through the college system, you know. Very interesting thing to watch, because they are still, you know, very much in search for a head coach. And I don't know, I just want someone who can really unlock the potential of this Flyers team, you know, and especially just make some moves to improve that defense. It was funny, at my job, I ran into another Flyers fan, and that was the number one thing both of us were talking about, was like the defense. And we're like, yeah, you know, I was like, yeah, you know, I tuned in for a game, or, you know, I'd I'd miss a game because of work, but I'd like see the score come in, and I'd be like, oh man, we won. We put up 6, only to see that we like the offense had to put up 6 because we ended up letting them score 5. So it's like that's the biggest upgrade that needs to be done. But that's all I got for the Phillies right now. That's the small little tidbit I have for the Flyers. Don't even have anything to say about the Sixers. I'm just waiting for that draft and to see how that lottery plays out and what happens in this offseason. But let's end it with positive attitude because the 2025 NFL draft happened. Yes, I have a lot of bias towards the Eagles. Yes, do I treat them differently than the other 3 Philadelphia children? Of course, because they're the ones that in my lifetime, yes, they've given me pain, but they've also given me joy. You know, like at least I can say I've watched 2 championships from the Eagles. Well, it's like, hey, the Phillies, you gave me 1 championship when I was like 6 years old. Hey, the Sixers, you haven't been good at all in my entire lifetime. And the Flyers, you know, they gave me the fun memories of getting to watch freaking Wayne Simmons beat up a guy on live TV. It was always so funny watching him get into fights. I still find it funny that to this day, if you go on YouTube, and I'm going to do it right now as we're recording. If you go on YouTube right now and you search up Wayne Simmons, the first clips that are going to pop up. Whoops, wrong one. If you go and search up Wayne Simmons, the first thing that pops up is him fighting. And then an edit for Wayne Simmons with the title Bully. And then you keep scrolling and it's just Wayne Simmons versus X hockey player. Like it's literally just a bunch of him, whether it's him in a Flyers jersey or a Leafs jersey. It's literally just him fighting people. You don't even get to, it isn't until like the 5th video that you see, you know, actual like highlights of him playing hockey. But it's like, you search him up and all you just see is him fighting people, and it's so funny. Getting to watch him was a lot of fun. But yes, the Eagles will always get that bias because it's like 2 championships, always been competitive for the most part. Aside from 2020, we don't talk about 2020. 2020 didn't exist, you know, nothing counted in 2020. But NFL draft. I think a lot of fans kind of overreacted to this draft, mainly because they were so used to the past couple of years. You could tell who became a fan in the last couple of years because they're over here talking about wanting trade ups. They're over here talking about wanting us to make trades for different players. Like I saw people talking about, oh, they could be in the running for TJ Watt. They could try and trade up. If Abdul Carter falls to number 4, they could make a trade with the Patriots involving AJ Brown. Like, dude, get out of here. None of that stuff was ever going to happen because you all became Eagles fans in the past like 3 years. Because if you've sat and watched with this team before everyone started loving Howie Roseman, you knew what to expect out of a Howie Roseman draft. Everyone got so used to the past 3 drafts where this man was getting Quinyon Mitchell, you know, after he fell. They're so used to him getting Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Cooper DeJean. Like they're so used to this that they don't know what the typical draft from the Eagles looked like. But I will say this one wasn't like the typical draft in the sense of the selections they made. And by that I mean, who remembers the days where you would be begging for the Eagles to take a linebacker in the draft that wasn't from the 4th round and beyond? There would be linebackers on the board and you would be like, Eagles, please get him. And it was like, no, because Howie Roseman would have the mindset, oh, why draft a linebacker in the 1st round when I can get a serviceable starter in the 5th round, in the 6th round? And it's like, oh, maybe you draft the 1st round linebacker because there's a reason they're going in the 1st round, you know? Like, it's so wild to me. And I bring it up because Jahad Campbell from Alabama, linebacker, was our first pick. And when I saw that, I was like, I was at work, so I wasn't able to see it. And I was like, the Eagles are drafting a linebacker? in the first round? What universe am I living in that you guys are drafting a linebacker in the first round? Like, hello? But I'll take it. The guy looks like he has some really great stuff. I think they also say he grew up an Eagles fan. He was really excited to get drafted here. And I welcome the pick. You know, linebacker in the first round, let's do it. Pair him right up with Zach Bond. And, you know, that way you don't have to rush Nakobe Dean back, you know. Second round, Andrew Makuba, Texas, safety. Another surprising pick because, you know, the Eagles have never really valued safety, especially like in the first round. Like they, again, this one was like it was a typical draft from the Eagles when you come to expect them to do a lot of trade downs and acquiring a lot of picks because they want to get talent later. Like they feel they can get more value later, so they'll trade down. But it's also weird seeing as how it's like you guys don't usually draft these positions this high. Like, I don't know, it's very, very odd, you know. Like it's very odd to see them do this stuff. Like and some people were kind of confused by it because they were like, safety, why are you getting safety? But it's like, well, hello, we lost Chauncey. Our safety room consisted of Reed Blankenship, McCullum, and Sidney Brown. You know, nothing against those guys, but like that's what the safety room was looking like. You obviously can trust Reed, but it's like Reed needs someone to play alongside him, you know. Like, who are you gonna go with now that Chauncey's gone? And you sure weren't gonna go with McCullum, you know. No offense to him, but we know those times he came in wasn't necessarily the best. So it's like, who are you gonna go with? Well, you need another safety. Go with a safety in the draft, you know, like, especially because it's like Sidney Brown's all right, you know, but maybe you want someone to compete with him for that spot, you know. But yeah, like, I don't know. Definitely real happy with the first two picks, you know, like they've done a real great job with what they've done. And by the way, the slight pause was because I was trying to search something up. My bad for that dead air. But yeah, I'm going back because I was just trying to go and look, and it's like you look through, because I just kind of want to prove my point to make sure I'm not out here looking dumb. It's like you look through their past couple of drafts, and it's like, yeah, they don't do a lot. Like Davion Taylor, linebacker in the 3rd round, Kayvon Wallace, safety in the 4th round. Like they don't draft in the 1st round a lot of these guys. Like if you've been an Eagles fan for a long time, you know that if they're drafting in the 1st round, they're more than likely getting edge rusher, offensive lineman, or if they're at a desperate need, wide receiver, like they did with Devontae Smith, like they did with Jalen Reagor, which still hurts to this day. But it's like, you look at a lot of their first round picks. It was surprising that they got Quinyon last year because they don't really draft corner in the 1st round. But Jalen Carter, defensive lineman, Nolan Smith, outside linebacker, technically edge. You know, it's like Jordan Davis, defensive tackle. Like they always go with a lot of, like, you know, the first 2 rounds are going to be the trenches or like a key need in terms of like receiver, you know. But it's like they don't really spend those quality picks on a lot of those players, you know. I think they're scarred from 2014 when they took Marcus Smith 1st overall, you know. Like I think they've been scarred off of taking a linebacker 1st ever since then. But it's like you look through their draft and so many times it's like you're just seeing the trenches in those like first 2 rounds. Like I am going so far back and you are not seeing linebacker or safety anywhere near the first like 2 picks. Like it's just so odd to see this, you know. Like I'm going so far back. Like we are at 2001 and nothing. Like it's very rare, you know. It's very rare that they do it. And I mean, hey, sometimes it works out. Like, you know, with Brian Dawkins, you know, like you didn't need to waste a 1st round pick on him. In a redraft you probably do, but they didn't need one for him. But man, it's so crazy just looking back at their draft history, and it's just like, I mean, Brian Dawkins was second round, but still, it's like they that same year that they got Brian Dawkins in the second round, they picked Jermaine Mayberry, guard / tackle. And granted, he played 10 years and he started for us many years, so it's like, it's not a knock on him, I mean, he literally was all pro second team in 2002. So it's like, again, it's not a knock on him, but like, it just goes to show they for the longest time have always valued those trenches. Like 1993 guard, 1994 tackle, 1995 defensive end, 1996 guard, 1997 defensive end, 1998 tackle. Like, it's been in their history that they always do this, So, and I'm sorry for taking so long. Like, we're at the 30-minute mark, and I've been talking about this so long, but I'm only bringing it up because so many people I saw during draft time were like complaining. And it's like, why are you complaining? Like, this is a rarity that they're doing this, and it's not going to be like the past 3 drafts. I mean, this is still insane value, like they in the 4th round, they get Ty Robinson, big old defensive tackle in the trenches. They want him to replace Milton Williams, and also, they want to have a good rotation. Excellent pick. That guy's going to be real great playing next to JC and JD and Ajomo, They get a corner to help, fill that room up even more. They get another linebacker. They get a center guard. They get a quarterback. And then I think it's Miles Hinton or Cameron, one of those two. I mean, they get 2 tackles. One of those has to be Lane's replacement. One of those 2 is going through Stoutland University and is going to be Lane's replacement. Like, I don't know how you can in any way spin this as a bad draft. Like, I am really happy with this draft, They got a bunch of depth. There's still a couple places where I'm like kind of iffy on, like I'm still kind of a bit worried about how this defensive line and linebacker room is going to play. I mean, you have Zach Bond, you don't got to worry. You got JC, JD, Nolan Smith, but it's like, I don't know, I'm still kind of worried a bit because it's like I'm looking at some of these positions and I'm like, how much trust are we putting in younger people, in our younger guys, like, are we that, like, again, and I'm not saying this as like a bad thing, like a knock on him, but I'm just saying, like, are we that impressed by what we saw out of Jalix Hunt in the playoffs and Super Bowl and, his couple of snaps throughout the season that we can feel we can rotate him and Nolan Smith as the edges with JC and JD and now Ty and Ajomo in the middle, like, are we that confident that we feel we didn't have to do too much, because I mean, I think we talked about the Eagles free agency already, but they didn't do a whole lot this free agency to the dismay of my father, who was just hoping for a little bit more, because it's like they didn't really do a whole lot, but they did sign a couple pieces that, these draft picks will now be competing with, Actually, hold on. I want to check. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, no. The only one is Drew Kendall, the center guard. Because I just remembered that we need someone to replace. What am I blanking on his name, man? My good, Mekhi Becton. So it's like, I don't know if Hinton or Williams have ever played guard, but it's like, knowing Stoutland University, they're gonna get reps there because one of those 3 has to compete with Kenyon Green for that right guard spot, and then the other will just be trained under Lane, or maybe both will be trained under Lane just to see who comes out the best and who they can rely on. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, they didn't do a whole lot in free agency, but they have a really good draft. I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited for this team still, like, I'm still very excited. Of course you're gonna be very excited coming off a Super Bowl, but it's like, I don't know, I'm still very excited for the way this team is going to come out, like, I'm just like, like, what are some of these positions going to look like is my big thing. But overall, I'm happy with this draft. I don't know what people were smoking when they were talking about, not being impressed by this draft, not being satisfied. It's like, this was an excellent draft to me. We got really good value at the picks that we got, especially because it's like, what did you expect? We won the Super Bowl. We're going to be like the last pick in every round. And though we have a ton of picks, like the Eagles have always been known to trade down, to acquire more picks, you know. Hey, maybe before the season they make a big trade, but I don't really see it. Like, I just see them trying to get value at cheap, you know, like that's the big thing, is cheap. They know they have a bunch of big old contracts. They literally extended Jurgens like earlier in the month in April, I think. So it's like they know they have a bunch of guys to extend, so they're gonna go with the cheap options. You know, they're gonna try and keep drafting rookies that can fulfill these spots. And then of course, I love the theory that came out that yeah, maybe they did try and trade up. Maybe they did try and trade with teams to get, you know, to get higher value at a higher pick, but no one wanted to trade with them because no one wants to be the ones known that, you know, no GM wants to be known as the GM that traded their pick to Howie Roseman, who then used it to draft the next Hall of Famer. You know, like I think these teams are becoming afraid of wanting to trade with the Eagles because of the value they have, you know. But overall, don't know what to think of the Phillies' future. Flyers still on the search for a head coach, waiting for the Sixers draft. And the Eagles had an excellent draft that just makes me even more excited for their future. Oh, and also to all the Giants fans that somehow may come across this video, I can't wait for when Abdul Carter is an Eagle in like 2030, 2031.